The big one was next, the Qatar Nassau Stakes, Group 1 over 10 furlongs, and Blue Rose Sen, the French Raider, was the 10 to 11 favourite.
All set to go, and they're off for this eagerly awaited Qatar Nassau Stakes. Blue Rose Sen on the inside running rail, preceded by Above the Curve at what looks to be a fairly steady pace through the first furlong. Husn now goes second from Blue Rose Sen. Then Carnarvon, followed by Never Ending Story, and Holly Doyle has dropped out Nashwa in last place in these very early stages and will be a good 7 or 8 lengths behind the leader, which is Above the Curve in the hands of Ryan Moore. Blue Rose Sen and Husn racing almost together, then Never Ending Story in the pink jacket, the inside of Carnarvon, and 2.5, 3 lengths back to Nashwa. Racing up the hill and on towards the final 6.5 furlongs, and Above the Curve leads the way. Husn is a close second, and then Blue Rose Sen round the inside, Carnarvon, and they're followed by Never Ending Story, and Nashwa is still the back marker. About to turn right-handed at the highest point on the racecourse, and then the race will really begin in earnest, running on down the hill towards the home straight. And Above the Curve, who's had a pretty soft lead here from Husn in second. Blue Rose Sen in behind in third, on the inside Carnarvon, then Never Ending Story and Nashwa. About to turn round the final little right-hander, and here's where it's about to unfold, and it's Above the Curve by a length to Husn, now getting closer. Blue Rose Sen on the inside as they race towards the cutaway. Carnarvon and then Never Ending Story, and Nashwa is still at the back of the field. Blue Rose Sen went for the gap up the rail, but the door was closed by Ryan Moore on Above the Curve, and it's Above the Curve and Husn. Blue Rose Sen has got to get out of trouble over there from Never Ending Story, and then Carnarvon, and here comes Holly. Holly's coming down the outside on Nashwa, and Nashwa really picking up, and Blue Rose Sen is imprisoned on the inside as they race down to the final furlong. Above the Curve, Husn. Nashwa storming down the outside, needs to find a little bit more. Then Blue Rose Sen, they race into the closing stages. Husn from Nashwa and Blue Rose Sen, and it's Husn, further Group 1 glory for Shadwell and Jim Crowley. Husn has won the Nassau. From Above the Curve, Blue Rose Sen looking unlucky. Nashwa never quite reeling them back.
Husn at 9 to 1 beats Above the Curve, who was 7 to 1. Half a length between them, 6 ran. Well, Blue Rose Sen, the favourite, who was fourth, and Nashwa, both a little bit disappointing, although excuses can be made for Blue Rose Sen, because this filly who'd won the Pouliche and the Diane in France could not get a run down on the inside. There was no way up Ryan Moore's inside. And eventually she was able to open up, and she did run on quite strongly late on. Nassau surged from the back, but she perhaps found her speed blunted by the ground. And Husn, who'd beaten Nassau at Newcastle, beats her again.
Well, it's mostly been a very, very good week for Jim Crowley. He's won the King George with Hookham. He's now, of course, won the Nassau with Husn. Tremendous performance from her, but she had the beating of Nashwa before, and you knew she was going to like the ground.
Yes, look, she's, as you saw, she's not a big filly, but she's all heart. She tries so hard. I was very fortunate that how the race panned out. We had a kind draw, and when Ryan went on to make the running, you know, it was the obvious thing to do was just sit second, and obviously the French filly was in a little bit of a pocket on the inside, so had to be a little bit careful that I knew Nashua was going to come at some point. So he kicked on 2 out, and like she just stuck her neck down and really battled and really wanted it, and it was great. You know, she's improved. Roger's done a fantastic job with her. And like I say, she's just kept on improving all through the season.
Her progress is sharp, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's rapid. I mean, she won a listed race up at Ayr, and then she obviously won a Group 3, the Hoppings, and she did well that day, obviously. But she, like I said, coming here today, she's a well-balanced filly, and it was on the figures she still had to step up, and she's done so.
And she's managed in what seemed from the outside to be a steadily run affair. Was it from where you were sitting?
It was. It was a steady tactical affair, and look, she was in the right place. But yeah, you know, nonetheless, she still had to kick on 2 down and fend them off, which she did. So yeah, it was nice.
I suppose I'm wondering whether she might get further.
Possibility. We've never really thought about it. I mean, she's not a big robust filly, but she's a sharp, handy filly, and she's won off a slow gallop there. But certainly something we could all talk about.
Well, I'm going to start thinking about her differently after seeing her quickening off a steady pace. I saw you watching the replay. Were you inevitably, in the context of these days, just watching to see how many times you'd actually used your whip?
Yeah, obviously I was, but even pulling up then, there's always an element of doubt in your head. I didn't go past the line and gone, I've gone 6. You know, it's a rule. It's a difficult one because I'm promising you now, jockeys, it's not easy, and we're not going out there thinking counting. You're worried about tactics, where you are in a race and things like that, and it's not as easy as some people might think it is at home. I wish it was.
I don't want to bring this interview down with that, but one more question about that. If it's not in your head, the disqualification, I mean, you were only 1 away from it in the King George, weren't you?
Obviously, yeah. Look, as I said, I wasn't aware of that. I mean, you get people thinking, oh, he deliberately did it, and it's just absurd, really. It's not something he'd do, but, you know, anyway, it's done now. Move on, and it's nice to have a day in the sun today.
Presumably you just ask everybody to sit down and talk.
I think they have to. I mean, look, I personally think my penalty's very stiff. It is what it is. Does it warrant what I'm going to miss? I don't know, but listen, I can't change it. It's done.
2 Group 1s in a week, though. Let's focus on the positive.
Exactly.
Many congratulations, Jim. Well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Polydor was on board, 3rd place Nashwa in the Nassau Stakes. What are your thoughts from your perspective?
I think it's a gallant run. I don't think there was much pace on early, obviously, but she settled beautifully. They got racing a long way out, obviously, between the 4 and the 3. I went there with a double handful, and I was just always mindful of keeping a hold of her for as long as I could. And 2 down, I went there to win my race and actually served it up to the eventual winner. And a furlong out as we've hit the rising ground, the hand-down horses just found a bit more, and it might have just confirmed what we possibly thought before, that maybe the 10 furlongs does test her stamina out these days.
Yeah, maybe she is better at a mile after that brilliant performance in the Falmouth.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, she's, you know, up until the furlong and a half pole, she's gone through the race exactly the same as she did in the Falmouth, and it was just late on that we were caught for stamina.
And so the ground not a factor?
I don't really think so. I mean, it does make it a bit more of a stiffer test, doesn't it? The 10 furlongs on the soft ground. So, you know, but she gets through it fine.
QE2?
Possibly, we'll see. Back to the drawing board, but we'll see what Mr. Gusson thinks.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Christopher Head has just seen Blue Rose Sen run